few years back, my Film Noir Foundation preserved The Hunted in a gorgeous 35mm print. At a screening in Portland, Oregon, one dedicated if disgruntled noirista leapt up at the conclusion and hollered, "That's not film noir, that is romantic melodrama," before kicking open the auditorium doors and storming off into the night. It is endlessly amusing to me how belligerent some people get worrying about the purity of a film's noirness. Yes, it certainly would have been a crueler, more noir ending if Laura had killed Johnny and gone back to prison, this time for a crime she actually did commit. Very Postman Always Rings Twice. And maybe that's how writer Steve Fisher envisioned it. But as we all know, artists in Hollywood rarely had final say about a film's ending. And I'm not one to let an enforced finish cancel out a film's wonderfully ambiguous narrative or its evocative imagery and style. The Hunted is plenty noir enough for me. I'm particularly fond of the reunion scene between Johnny and Laura, which seems like a one-act play dropped into a typical noir narrative. Director Jack Bernhard plays it mostly in long takes, heightening the tension as Johnny and the viewer wonders when this vengeful dame might just pull a knife and settle the score. The image of Belita beside the window with the shadows of rain streaking her face is one of my favorite shots. And it's only in this film that close-ups reveal the scar that ran the entire length of Belita's face, a nasty souvenir from a skating accident. Just one more horrendous physical hardship she overcame early in her life. The worst of those may have been her marriage in 1946 to aspiring actor Michael Reardon, a move she made partly to escape her mother's stranglehold. Now, once free of Queenie, Belita revealed herself in interviews as an amazingly bright and sophisticated woman. She claimed that her upbringing made her approach everything in life as a competition. She played the violin and was fluent in 4 languages. She became an expert skier and swimmer, as well as a skater. It seemed like this woman had a mind and a body capable of anything. Belita's intelligence and ambition unfortunately left her husband jealous and embittered. In the eventual divorce petition, she asserted that she feared for her life and safety and agreed to pay Reardon 40% of her earnings just to get free of him. She testified that her husband drank heavily and beat her frequently, including 2 public incidents. She was, like the characters she played in Noir, a woman trapped. In a 2003 interview looking back on her career, Belita had no recollection of making The Hunted. Perhaps that's because in terms of budget and prestige, it was a long step down from the extravagance that surrounded her breakout in Suspense 2 years earlier. Now, that picture was touted as Monogram's first $1 million movie, but her champions, the King brothers, had lost influence at Monogram with the rise of producer Walter Mirisch, who soon transformed the studio into Allied Artists. And Belita wasn't part of Mirisch's long-term plans. So she left Hollywood to skate again in Europe and to escape further bruising on the domestic front. In Paris, she met Charles Laughton, who was there shooting an adaptation of Georges Simenon's The Man on the Eiffel Tower. She became the actor's protege, and rather than be disappointed that her Hollywood star had dimmed, she performed leading roles in Laughton's revivals of The Cherry Orchard and Twelfth Night, taking a big pay cut in favor of learning acting from her new mentor. In 1956, Belita hung up her skates, never to hit hard water again. She eventually retired to England, where she married Irish actor James Berwick. And while he enjoyed a prolific career on British television, she opened a gardening center in West London and gladly watched her fame and recognition diminish. She remained with Berwick until his death, then spent the last years of her life in isolation at a second home in the south of France. "I have a lovely time doing absolutely nothing," she happily said at the conclusion of that 2003 interview. But back in 1956, immediately after her retirement from skating, Belita had declared, I hated the ice. I hated the cold, the smell, everything about it. I only did it for the money. Spoken like the one and only Ice Queen of Noir. Now let us know what you thought of Belita and The Hunted on our Noir Alley Facebook page and Twitter feed. And join us back here next week when we return to RKO Radio Pictures for an early example of what would become a genre unto itself, the serial killer movie. And despite my fondness for Belita, you'll never get me near a skating rink. I'll stick with my ice in cube form.